Hello, welcome to a very exciting City Voices spirituality group on a Saturday morning and into the afternoon, Eastern time. And today we have a very special guest, a wonderful poet and a pioneer in the peer support movement, Bluebird. So without further ado, Bluebird, you take it from here.
Okay. Wait a minute. Why do I have a thing up there? Oh, got it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there. Okay. Well, thank you, Dan. This is my second time being on, and according to Dan, I might not have been on Zoom the last time. I have a lot of trouble, but now I think I have it pat down, hopefully. But I have somebody here just in case. And let me see, what was it? My last time I talked about spirituality, and I can't remember whether I said that my spirituality really focuses on my poetry. And so when I was thinking about what the meaning of my poetry is, I would say that it definitely is my spirituality. And then I looked up, well, what is poetry? And I kind of liked what I saw. The poem is a type of artistry that speaks to a person's imagination or emotion. So I thought that kind of sums it up. I had some notes here about poetry, and I may talk about that later, but I imagine people would like to hear me read. By the way, the David and David on the calls is my son. I'm not sure why he's on twice, but I'm just happy to have him listen, I hope. Yes, thank you. All right. As some of you may know, I recently published a book called Lantern to My Soul. And so I'm going to read, most of my poems are going to be from there, and maybe one or two from another, from another place. I'm going to start off with the poem that is about poetry. Poetry poem. To me, poetry is freedom, because with less words, I can say what I want. I can pretend the sky started raining elephant tears, or that the long day stays light when you play games at night. I can play with commas and periods, shout with one word without sound. I can share my poems with others. I must like them first. I see God in my poetry. She looks back at me and laughs or cries. My poetry is my holiest expression. What I say, who I am. Okay, so that kind of defines my poetry. And the poem I'm going to read next is the first poem in the book, which is called Lantern to My Soul. Lantern to my soul. What does it look like, this lantern, a vessel of light carrying love? And does my soul show like a too long petticoat? What then is love? Is it defined in my collection of poems, or in the many books on my shelf on the subject? Or is it just the words, the image of a lantern that speaks, each word to take from them their own meaning? For me, the lantern leading to my soul is a pair of footy pajamas, a one-size-fits-all, warm flannel, red or blue. Waiting for a cold night, you will find my soul under layers of covers stuck in my pajamas. Love-lined, my heart full of fleece, lying on one side or the other, asleep. So I guess I like footy pajamas. I'm not sure about anybody else, but all through childhood, but also in adulthood, I'm always have a pair of footy pajamas. I don't have one right now, though, actually. Pair. Anyway, so the next poem is about being older, and it's called If You Are Older. This poem is for you. Not done yet. We may need pep talks. Our bodies with a few cracks, we can still go dancing with new costumes and plumes in our hair. We have wisdom to share from our life experiences, places to go, dreams yet to fulfill, sun to capture at seaside edges. We have memories so many we can't remember them all. At our pace at full steam ahead, we are ready for romance, should it come our way. Skip cotton candy, but not the Ferris wheel. A handful of peanuts for health in our pockets. Long walks in neighborhoods, making new friends. A life still gratifying, not slow, but fast as we can. Maybe just not on horseback. Okay. Oh, I was going to ask all of you to think about a poem that means something to you, that resonates with you. I think one of the most powerful things about poetry is when we read something and we think, oh, that applies to me, or that poem is, I wish I had written that. It has meaning to me. Or even a word that maybe you pick up and that you like and that you would like to write a poem about. All right, so I'm interrupting my reading. I don't know. But anyway, so the next poem, I really like this one actually, is I like them all, but anyway. This is called Tulip. I dreamt I was a tulip growing in a field near windmills turning in a bluest sky. I dreamt myself in purple, but whites and pinks were there next to me. No borders, no lines. You could hardly see the horizon. All was well. As a tulip, I leaned back and forth, but never fell. Green stems kept me healthy. Planted well, I stayed in a vast field. Beauty never strayed, nor could a painter ever capture what was there, seemed real. I think tulips are beautiful, and I always think about Holland. I always wanted to grow up in Holland, but I didn't. So anyway, here's one that May would really like. So May, are you listening? Okay, here we go. All right. Actually, she really does focus on me, and I imagine she's listening. But it's called Our Political, no, wait a minute, not political, Our Apolitical Pets. The nice thing about pets, they have no political affiliation, no preferences of candidates, limited likes to which dry or wet food, and adamant about treats. You would think they could read labels. They love indiscriminately, unconditionally, not needing to be analyzed or need for marriage counseling. The issues we question focus narrowly on how we treat them. Even euthanasia needs no debate. The fuzzy looks of smiling dogs or cats or speaking parrots need no ratings. And even those animals from beyond, from another country, broaden our outlooks. From African deserts to sparkling seas, we forget about discrimination or racism. Happy we are, to which how simple life can be. Without need for barriers, we agree. It is all settled. All pets are winners. Yeah. Very, very true. Thank you. Are you? Yay! May got all excited. She's she knew that was all about her. Okay. So the next one is Listen to the Birds. In the many trees outside, birds are singing repetitively, interpretively, words, invitations to enjoy. Reminders that life is not just filled with questions, but full of answers. Doors open wide, flower friends are sprouting different colors, blending with the sky. my mind must in stillness be. Okay. I have a little booklet, so to speak. I'm going to show you how tiny it is. And it's called Moving, Still Crying. And this was written when I was a nurse, a traveling nurse, and I was in New Haven, Connecticut. I was also back and forth to New York City at that time. There was a woman named Louise Wall. Angela's on, she would remember her. And sort of a group of people that were part of our movement in New York City. Also, one of them was Rosita Libra do Maria Wanda, which meant she was free from her ex-husband named Maria Wanda. So that's what I remember. The funny thing is, I sort of forgot about this, but I did show it to a couple of people recently, and it turned out they felt like these were their favorite poems. And so I'm going to read you, I might read you two from it, but one of them has to do with changing my name. And it was during this time that I was in the process of changing my name to Bluebird. So, and it's called An Act of Defiance. Is what you might say changing your name is a non-given to an unknown, to someone not cataloged in record. There will be no history, no family tree. You might say an act of defiance. You are displaying someone new, a new name, someone you hardly know. This name, you are saying your new name is Bluebird, while your name tag still says Sugar. Surely you are somehow confused and you think to yourself you are already accused. You might say this is an act of defiance, but this is not definite, though you know you are in transition. Before a judge, you have raised your hand as if you knew why you were doing this, changing your name. You had a reason, but still it is not quite definite. At the bank, they tell you you have to wait. At the new job, it is obvious they would still like you to be Sugar, which means married and stable with children, at home after work, and doing what is traditional. It is obvious what they think. Your name tag says Sugar, though you have requested otherwise. Outside, they parade wearing hats of pride and carry the American flag. Perhaps someday you will be able to explain that freedom to me means discovering my name, that I must carry forward a banner of new hope. And part of that must be my own brand of courage. Perhaps I will one day convey that what we say, what we are named, is important, that I am not just defiant, deviant, or unsure of my convictions. But right now, I am waiting for a piece of paper, one final pass of time. Then I will tell them my name is Gail Bluebird. It means I'm free to be just me. No matter what you think, I'm just fine being who I am, just me. And I really have to say that that was probably a new beginning for me, and that the name Bluebird, I mean, I can't go anywhere without somebody saying, oh, your name is Bluebird, or what did you say, you're Mr. Bluebird, or, you can't imagine what I get in the mail. But everybody turns out smiling. And so also found out that Bluebird means hope and courage. So I feel like I had a real meaning to why I did it, and that it was part of, I guess we could say, my recovery. So that every time that I was sad, which is a lot, I would also return to my name, Bluebird, and it would make me happy. I'm going to read one more. Let me see. I think, yeah, because I'm going to read one from this little book. Because there's a couple of us that even if you hadn't been in the movement, I know Angela was, you probably have heard about the history of our movement. Oh, and yes, and you're a New Yorker, so of course you've heard of Howie the Heart. And of course, Howie was loved by everybody and continues to be, and has a program or school named for him. So this one's called For Howie the Heart. Sometimes needed a solid voice standing in the middle. All the shelters we won't work with, what this person did, what another did not, what beliefs are not in line, the correct position, who has complaints, is leaving unless the wrong, the impossible, the whispers around the circle, the phone chains, letters, the campaigns, time not spent building, tearing down what should be created, nurtured. Lying on a perfect heap in fragments, some parts defeated, never rising, dying, dead. Sometimes needed a solid voice, the man with the cane rising, standing in the middle of the circle, pulling out of his pocket a miracle, a melody, makes a joke, laughter, heals whatever mistakes. His message brings together, widens the circle, quiets the voices, calms. In his steps are the stories of the homeless. His own shoes heavy, he knows those with none. Not up on a platform shouting words we call the truth, our absolute politics. You will find him standing in the middle, the man with the solid voice, a pocket with a harmonica, a miracle, a song. So, I hope, I don't know if I want to say, I have a feeling people probably would like to respond to maybe even that one, but kind of makes me cry because I remember Howie, very, very well. And he was very much a part of our arts, what I call our arts movement. And when he got up on stage, he was our favorite MC at the alternatives conferences. He had a lot of jokes that he told and retold and retold, and everybody laughed, and he made everybody feel special. But one of the things he did in every presentation I ever do, I have somebody's cane and I raise it and I say, "What am I doing?" The answer is raising cane. Then he would say, "What am I doing?" Raising cane. "What am I doing?" Raising cane. All right, I'll stop there. I hope you don't mind my extravagance there. But anyway.
Thank you, Gail. That was lovely. So now I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to remove the spotlight from Gail so we can see anyone who will engage Gail. But before we do a little house cleaning, I see your hand, Harvey, don't you worry. Let's see, there's someone, oh, okay, iPhone, is that you, Angela? Oh, yes, that's you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay.
I'm having a lot of trouble with this.
All right. So
But
we
I'm
got
here.
you, Angela, no problem. All right, let's start with Harvey. Go ahead, Harvey.
Wow, Bluebird, wonderful, wonderful. I would only suggest one thing, that you stop after each poem to give us an opportunity to talk about it. I can't even think about all the things that flash through my mind with each of the poems. The first one really grabbed me when you talked about God and you referred to God as he, she. And it reminds me of what I see Dan has done, where he wants to be called they, him. And what I've gotten in touch with for myself is that God is both masculine and feminine. And in the LGBTQ movement, they've made it very clear that you call yourself they then. So God is they to me. And so that's a beautiful piece. Then when you talked about adopting the name Bluebird, in 1976, I was given the name Dandelion. And of course, I don't look like I look like now, but in those days I had really big fluffy hair around my head, and a blind woman who heard me sing at one of the open mics came up to me afterwards, and I didn't know how she could have known that my hair looked like that because she was blind. But she said, "You know what you are?" And I said, "No." She said, "You're a dandelion." And I adopted that as my spiritual name. I still go by Newman, and that's also an interesting one because my dad used to come out of the shower every morning and say, "I feel like a new man." And he used to laugh because that was what we are, Newmans. But I also wrote a poem, and if I may, I'd like to share that. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Here it is. It's called Our Calling. Our calling is calling us. Can we hear it over the din of the selfishness of our egos? Will we heed it instead of heeding our incessant illusory desires? Will we follow it, ridding ourselves of our vain attachments? Can we overcome our fears of separation from our material world? When we enable our higher selves to answer these questions affirmatively, we have recognized ourselves as children and servants of God. Our egos, desires, attachments, and all of our fears begin to die, rebirthing us into eternal love, peace, and joy. I'll stop
Thank you,
here.
Harvey.
Okay.
All right, you guys. So now, Gail had a very interesting life. When she was quite young, she babysat Martin Luther King's children.
Wow.
And she met his whole family. So, but Gail, could you Harvey suggested that a poem be read and then we discuss it. So I asked Bluebird, I'm sorry, I keep doing that. Bluebird, would you like to read a poem that you read previously and then open that one for discussion, or would you like to read something new and then we can discuss it afterwards? Something that you haven't read but you think would be perfect for discussion.
Gosh. Oh, well, the name change, that was already brought up. What does somebody else think? What do you think would be a good one for discussing? I can look to see if I have another one too. I'll tell you what. Oh, I know what. So I'll go back to this little book because this is, like I said, everybody's favorite. Because this is an issue for me, probably for other people that are older, I think. This was 1990. What are we in now? 2023. How many years is that? 1990, 91.
33 years.
33 years ago. Oh my gosh. All right. So I don't know how old I was then, but anyway, I was already, I think probably I was all my life confused. So this poem is called Confusion. Sometimes I think I must be the most confused person on earth, never quite listening or hearing, as if there is a lack of stick that glues together pieces. The clues I have are these: lost in crowds, keys that get misplaced, cars that drive, but no maps, no money saved for tolls, turnbacks on freeways, circles of streets that go one way or another, not knowing which way to turn, not knowing if voices are talking to me, that search but never quite find what I am looking for. I am looking never quite find what I am looking for. Superficially, I can accomplish wonders. At times, I am a miracle, but only at staying alive. It is true I am clear and defined about goals, just how to get there, meeting the deadlines, keeping intact all the little details. I keep trying. Time is not my enemy, but I am getting old and weary on my path. So I hope that other people have experienced definitely loss of memory, confusion.
Go ahead, Angela. Angela, go ahead.
Go ahead. You want me to do a poem or comment?
You could
on
do a
Dan?
poem, or you could comment
Yeah,
on the last poem. Anything you want.
No, I do have a poem that I wrote quite a while ago. You might have heard it before, Dan. I don't know if other people here have. I wrote it shortly after my first episode. It goes like this. Light in all its forms, universes of harmony. The simple mind that was before evaporates in mystery. Am I that or something more? I know that I am me. Will I be lost in chaos as my world comes clear to me? All that is found within all that will ever be. Will I be lost in chaos as my worlds come clear to me? Yet out of chaos I did spring, the me I am today, still drawn back into this world in which I found my way. But is it real? I question still, even as I know. Life is the mystery to me, unraveled as I grow.
Wow.
That was wonderful, Angela.
Beautiful.
Very
Wow.
wonderful. And to think that it came out of that experience that really makes it even more real. Thank you.
So you guys, we have two poems that were recently read, one by Bluebird and one by Angela, with themes of aging and that process, and also like how life is such a mystery and such a wonder. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say or contribute, or maybe a
Dan,
poem
am
of
I
your own?
chopped liver? Dan,
Oh,
am I chopped
well,
liver?
Harvey, I'm sorry,
I read
Harvey.
a poem also.
Oh, yes, you read a poem as well. I'm sorry, I just
Thank you.
I remember the last two
That's
things
okay.
I hear. Okay.
It's okay.
But let's hear from Bonnie Shell.
Bonnie.
All right, go ahead, Bonnie.
I just
You're
wanted to
on.
comment on Angela's use of rhyme, which a lot of people can't do anymore. And that has a virtue because somebody could memorize your poem much easier because it rhymes. And it wasn't sing-songy. I mean, I liked it very much, and I haven't heard anything rhyme in a long time. And there were some lines from Bluebird that stuck in my mind that I wrote down. One was, does my soul show?
Like
And
a
another
petticoat,
one
right?
was, so many memories, we can't remember them. And our calling is calling us. That was Dan, I think. With less words, she talked about saying something with less words and having to like what you say first. I thought there were a lot of simple lines that made you stop and think. They weren't so simple. Anyway, I've liked them. And the one about the maps, because she said this was back in 1991, that's not the same as old age. And the way she describes it, it's like you're so busy, there are all these real things, but you get in the car and you don't have a map and you haven't saved money for the toll, but you keep going. And because you're younger, it works. If you were older, you might wind up at an intersection, paused, not knowing which way to go. And I like the two, that she could talk about problems with memory as an older person and problems with the kind of problems with memory and paying attention you have when you're younger.
Thank you, Bonnie. Now we have Megan who's raised her hand. Megan?
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
First, I just want to acknowledge that Gail Bluebird, lovingly referred to as Bluebird, has been contributing to the movement of people who have a different rhyme and a different way of seeing things. I just want to say thank you to Bluebird for your faithfulness, for your creativity, and for supporting the rest of us. As I was watching you read, I was very aware that my drawing is on the wall behind you. And I feel so grateful to you for the support. And you're still going out there promoting all of us that are making art. And I mean, Howie the Harp, that I love that story. But you are so generous. You're not only incredibly creative, but you're generous in every sense of the word. So I want to say thank you to you for sharing your spirit and your life with us. And also, I was going to ask you to read the poem found on page 36 of Land Into My Soul, Sex Still Alive.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. I love that. I mean, go for it, Gail. Go for it.
All right. Let me see. Where's my book?
It's towards the back. It's page 36. It's like it takes some gumption to write that and to read that, but I know you can do it because that's you. Can't you?
No, to be honest with you, it wasn't hard to write this or read it. And what's funny about it is I did a poetry reading here in my Presbyterian high-rise, 19 floors of seniors, supposedly independent, not always, but so I had a poetry reading and my what do you call it, a book signing with a really nice crowd. And I remember everybody in the audience loved this poem. And I remember somebody, well, anyway, after I read it, I think there's a particular line that everybody thought, oh, that's wow. Okay. So it's called Sex Still Alive. Long forgotten, or maybe not, is how we old folks are relegated. Where sex, they say, belongs to the past. Say the word in an old folks' home, and someone may pull the fire alarm. Sex, the forgotten word, if expressed, makes families blush and flutter nervously. But it would be missed if omitted from a book of poems where surely it still belongs. Like waving a flag in a celebratory parade. Come on, my friends. We oldies, just because we are older, are still good. Not on a racetrack racing. but more hidden, so no one can see us behind the bleachers of life.
Loves it.
And people responded to the bleachers and in the
Yeah.
fire.
Beautiful. Thank you, Gail. I appreciate that.
And Megan, thank you for your comments. I was really hoping, I don't know how much time we have. I thought this was such a long time, but Megan is a writer, and but let me just, so that I get it in, I want to show, let me see, this
Oh, mhm.
Mudflower. Now, this book is amazing and has been awarded 11 major awards by this time. And it's called Mudflower, Surviving Schizophrenia and Suicide Through Art.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and I just feel so close to Megan. There are some experiences that we had that are similar. And I'm just so amazed at how far and then what kind of turned her around. And so now I can't really fully say it, but she's training, I believe, psychiatrists. She has big positions. People are, asking her to speak. And so I just feel honored and to have somebody else that's part of what we see as still blossoming and coming to something that we're going to have called, our arts movement. So thank you, Megan. And then Bonnie.
Thank you, Gail.
Yeah, thank you. And Bonnie, you have a book also. I have it here, but
Yes,
I don't know if you want to show it.
Growing Up Mad in the South. And it has some poems in it and some essays and some stories. You don't have to get it, Gail.
No, I know, but I think it's important that people like covers. I do. I relate to books and sometimes buy books just because. And this is called Growing Up Mad in the South. And so, Bonnie, the fact that you don't have it to show is just amazing. But I know you must have a poem to read. Bonnie is somebody I've known, I don't know, many, many, many years. And we together did something called Altered States. Oh my God.
And talent shows.
Of reaching across with the arts. And Bonnie helped do that. And Bonnie is still working. I just find it amazing. And I have a huge love and respect for Bonnie. But do you have a poem to read?
Yeah, I have a simple, short poem. It may not be spiritual, but the event was for me. This is in a drop-in center that's getting ready to close. And it's called Waking Up Mary. I made noise taking down the outpatient sketches. I stacked the tattered geographics and women's health magazines. But Mary did not waken. Mary did not move. She eats little and leaves no mess behind. Mary asks for nothing, wants no services. Her calloused hands now folded across her chest, back protected by the faded maroon couch, cheeks burnished from walking in the sun. She weaves where others are not standing, accepts no nice pink t-shirt or new underwear. Her ragged cut hair pins down the old foam pillow. Afraid to grab and shake her shoulder, I lightly touch her hand, call her name. Mary! Mary did not move. What if she should startle and freak? What if she is drugged into a coma, has come quickly to this couch to die? Mary, you have to leave now, I said, more loudly. She did not waken, and through her layers of rumpled clothes, I could not see her breathing. Who would I call about this vagabond whose husband left her pregnant and bleeding by the railroad in some faraway state she will not name? I thought about leaving her on the couch for someone else to find, locking the door and pretending the community room was empty, going home to watch TV and eat deli chicken and macaroons. Then I sat on a stool beside the human being who took so little space in this universe. The woman without a backpack, wallet, or appointments. Mary, please wake up, I said, praying a little. She opened her brown lids, looking at me, eyes so blue they were the deepest river without sludge or oil, only rich green plants. You were closing? She asked in a whisper. Can I get the driver to take you somewhere? I offered, expecting her to say no, which she did. Then she sprung up and apologized. Sorry to be asleep, to be trouble, to be in the way. Apologized for not knowing the time and left quietly without somehow passing the outside windows.
Thank you, Bonnie. Daniel, you've been waiting patiently to speak. Go ahead.
I wasn't waiting so patiently, actually, because my inner child was saying, Dan, you're not noticing me. I keep raising my real hand and my reaction hand. So I was hoping you did eventually. So thank you. Well, first of all, Bluebird, my name is Daniel, and I'm formerly from New York and now in Chicago. And what I felt as you were reading was I had this fantasy that you invited me into your home and you said, Daniel, make yourself comfortable. And a very cozy chair. I sit across from you and you said, I'm going to read some of my life. And you spoke to me as if you were just speaking, not poetry, but just speaking in a conversation, which I found fascinating. I mean, you're obviously very talented. You deserve all the awards that you've gotten. And I think you're in the class with Robert Frost and Elizabeth Barrett Browning and all these famous poets. So you're absolutely terrific. And I'm so glad you're connected with the mental health movement, have been in the past. You inspired me, like others. I wrote something, short poem, during the pandemic, during the beginning, like about spring 2020. It basically talks about a lot of my attractions to people who were not available or not interested. Two particular people, one in Chicago, one in New York. So I'll get into that now. It's called My Flame Burns for Your Soul. My flame burns for your soul, a soul so deep as to cover layers of earth yet undiscovered. The human flesh which feels no anguish as the loss of your essence. You move on, I remain. A continuation of things past, unraveling the feelings within, layer after layer after layer. The heart continues to pound, yet ever so slowly, beat by beat by beat, uneven in its journey. The body continues to speak dark, dreary sensations. Can I direct my painful soul towards somewhere, someone real and just? I lie in the midst of night, when all is still but not silent. My flame burns for your soul.
Thank you, Daniel.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Now, Bonnie asked in the chat, Megan, I think this is true. People can buy Mudflower, your book Mudflower, on Amazon, correct?
I think she's gone.
Oh, she's gone. Well, yes. So Bonnie, just simply Google Megan. Oh, okay, you got it. All right. Now let's hear. Now, Sandy Brower, you're there. Can we get some reaction from you, Sandy? Any reaction to what's transpired in this charming little group of ours?
Well, I'm sorry I was really late, so I didn't get to hear Gail's story, but I know it was probably really good.
Did you get a chance to hear any of the poetry?
Yeah, I missed Harvey's. That it was good.
All right. Now, how are you doing?
I could be better.
All
How are you
right.
doing?
How am I doing? I'm
Yeah.
I'm just having a ball facilitating. All right. Well, welcome, Sandy. It's nice to have you. Shanti Vani, go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah. I don't know if I'm breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me okay?
Fine.
Yes.
Good. Well, I have the good fortune of living just an hour and a half from Bluebird, and so we get to visit once in a while. And every time we get together, we have a lot to share. So she was kind enough to publish some of my poetry in Altered States of the Arts back in, what is it, the 90s, I guess.
Mhm.
And I'm really grateful to be here. She's also given me Bonnie's book and Megan's book and at least two of her books. And so thanks, Bluebird, for all of that. And for
Bonnie, there's more to say about Bonnie. Bonnie is a friend of mine, one of my earliest friends, and somebody I went to every time to help me do a PowerPoint. Not only that, do you have your reaching the song that you wrote a song? It was so great. You don't have
I
it?
did write a song, but what I wanted to read was my my poem.
Oh, okay. All right.
And we can find the song or share it somehow. But I did write a song called Labels on
Yeah.
Glasses, Labels on Shoes. It's all about labels. And I also have a little video that I did of it to the music. Maybe I could find that before the end of the meeting.
I
and
have
put
it, and
with-
maybe I'll end with singing that song because it is so.
Yeah,
If
we
you
could
don't-
we could do that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you want to do a
Thank-
poem?
But I'm going to read what I did. I went to a poetry workshop with John Rodell last summer. He's kind of a Facebook poet, and he taught us this little technique called six word memoir. So every line is specifically 6 words, and this is called My Life in Decades. And it might be a little long, but I'm going to do it. So I was born in 51, so it starts with the 50s. My life in decades, in 6 word memoirs, my gift to you. 1950s, my dad missed my Earth entry. I learned to walk in Liberia. My mom loved me very much. I first saw blood in Ethiopia. My sister always wanted me gone. Our swing hung from eucalyptus trees. My brother got lost in the chaos. The Queen Elizabeth brought us home. Kindergarten frightened me the first day. I became familiar with pink people. I missed being with brown people. My sister blew snot on me. So that's 1960s. The rheumatic fever has gone away. My asthma has pretty well subsided. Our home life was rocky, disconnected. I'd cry alone in my bed. Heartbreak let me out of here. Depression, confusion, I felt cold, blue. I remember when Kennedy was shot. 8th grade music class was interrupted. We walked home, stunned, shocked, confused. Vietnam War and racism were appalling. Refusing to salute the American flag. These words are not my words. The ACLU finally won my case. So I graduated just in time. Poor People's Campaign in Washington, D.C. Woodstock 69, my purple VW bug. Mescaline, marijuana, sex, drugs, rock and roll. Found out free love isn't free. So 1970s. Travels in Mexico for language study. Flight home, baby in utero. Mom sheltered us for a while. Met the man of my dreams. a Vietnam veteran, traumatized combat Marine. Life by day was babies, sweet. Life by night, a different story. No phone, no car, no friends. Alone with babes in the woods. Cicadas chirping, diapers in the wind. Deeper and deeper, my private despair. Need to stay present for babies. Trying so hard, but finally burst. Went home in my bedroom slippers. Oldest daughter with me in flight. Sister picked me up in Boston. I told her, we're in Montreal. Placed in a state mental institution. My leaky breasts were crying out. Forced injections, restraint, seclusion, isolation, terror. This is not where I belong. Running in the streets, high and low. Then in 79, off to Gainesville. 1980s, starting a life anew with 2 girls. Then, thank God, with 3 girls. Cleaning houses for the rich people. Reuniting with Jerry Pfeiffer, Prem Dinesh. Ups and downs, ins and outs. Living in the Bulwer Springs house. 1989, my friend dies with AIDS. Pfeiffer Memorial benefits were my prize. First grandchild was born in 89. What a joy to carry on. This is long, but I'm going to keep going. 1990s, celebration of unity on Martin Luther King Day. Earth Day festivals, Gainesville's downtown plaza. Winter solstice healing arts festivals happened. Emerging from my sorrow with community. Preparing the way to eventual wellness. I met my beautiful life partner. He lives life gentle and clear. How fortunate that he loves me. 5 more grandchildren come into being. Bonnie's 2000s, Bonnie's Garden, a licensed home daycare. 5 years of work, loving kindness. Thomas Center, lovely wedding in 2004. Honeymoon, summer tour of France and Italy. Adjusting to life, this life without degradation. Not pain-free, but quite beautiful. 2010s, Naomi overdose, recovery, addiction, and death. Grief was always her downfall. Floundering to deal with extreme emotions, worry about the other family members, and then mom, Alzheimer's, takes her away. 7 deaths in 5 years, wow. Death doula training after mom dies. And now the 2020s. COVID, devastation, racism, pain, Trump, death. How on earth do we continue? My new specialty is grief recovery. I found my place at last. Fear, joy, regret, love, sorrow, surrender. Honesty, mystery, storytelling can work wonders. Transforming grief is an evolutionary process. I know it was long, but thank you.
Thank you.
My
life
ears
in
perked
decades.
up. Yeah, my ears perked up. You're a death doula?
Yes.
I'd love you to come on my Zoom on Meetup called Death Cafe New York City.
I would love that.
Yeah, look
Yeah.
it up. It's on the first Wednesday, the third Wednesday of the month from 5 to 6. And I'd love to have you on and
Okay,
share
great.
some of your experiences, please.
Thank you, Harvey. I'll put my email in the chat.
Oh, great.
All right, now there is one and only one person who we haven't heard from yet, and that's me. So I have a lot to say. No, I'm just kidding. Stan Rosowski, you've been so patient, so quiet, so contemplative. Let's hear from you.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate just being here listening to words. Bluebird, I've been kind of following your work at a distance thanks to the internet for years now, and have some manuals that you've created and probably more of that organizing work that you've done in the past. but I appreciate the words. And it seems to me that a number of us kind of share an age, like I'm 73, Harvey. I think you're close. Bluebird, you're close to that.
80.
Sounds 80?
80.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've lived through a lot of the same times, and all our experiences have been really unique. But I don't know. I'm feeling very quiet today, Dan. I don't know if I've got any words. I've been feeling kind of confused. I thought one day I would be wise, I would be old, and then I would be wise. But I probably feel more confused about everything. It's like I'm not sure about anything, and I'm beginning to wonder about my own cognitive function. And at the same time as I watch my wife deteriorate and go away to Alzheimer's disease, and which is really difficult, because it's this bit by bit process. This past month, she has lost the ability to write at all, to write her name. She used to be an English teacher. She taught indigenous students, who were in trouble in different ways, and she worked at that, and she loved her work. And way back when Keanu Reeves played Hamlet, he came to Winnipeg and did Hamlet here with our theater company, and she got to take her students to the dress rehearsal. And I don't know if she ever actually met Keanu, but she was capable of organizing these things and doing these things, and now she can't write the alphabet. She can't write her name. And sometimes the words just don't come out. It's just a garble, and it has been very difficult and very confusing figuring out how to deal with all these things. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm listening to your words and to your stories and to your poetry, and I just really appreciate being here and how you can share that. I just thought about my friend Ron Romanowski, the Polish postie poet. So we got to be friends years ago. Ron was working for the postal service here, and he had been writing poetry and published his first book. And I was working as a photographer. Had a contract with a national magazine that produced the Postal Workers National Magazine, and they featured him, and I got to meet him. Took pictures of us both being Polish. We shared a lot of loves, of our culture, things that being in Canada, it's always been somewhere in my history. But anyways, and one day after he had published his fifth book, and I was walking away from the book launch with him, and he says, well, I guess time to start working on the next one. And I said to him, I guess you just have to find the words. And he said, oh no, he says, I've already got them, all 10,000 of them. He says, I just have to figure out how they go together. And which taught me something about how we write poetry and write generally. Anyways, I'm really grateful to be here. Each of us, we make the world, we sing the world into being every day, we get up and do this, And so I'm just grateful to all of you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, you guys.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on what you have to say, Stan, because you underrate yourself. Your confusion is your wisdom, and your wisdom comes out very, very well. And having had the experience myself, actually, yesterday was the anniversary of my wife's dying 2 years ago, and she also suffered. And if I had the time, I have a poem to talk about that, but perhaps another time.
All right. Now, somehow I put a spotlight on both Stan and Harvey. So I'm going to remove this spotlight. Now, what I like to do during our spirituality groups, after we've all, said our pieces and a lot's been talked about, is to spend 2 or 3 minutes of absolute silent contemplation, just silence. We're all together, all our energies are here, and with silence, it could be a very spiritual experience. So I'm going to mute everyone, including myself, and I'll look at the clock and I'll get us back after this moment of silence. All right.
Excuse me, Dan. I received some message about the host has said he would like to feature your video. Is that a mistake?
Like to feature your video.
Feature your video and unmute.
Oh,
Unmute.
yeah, I spotlit everyone. I don't know if you can see on your screen. You see it's like the Brady Bunch right now. So, so I'm gonna unspotlight everyone, and then we'll focus back on Bluebird. Just a moment. All right, so we have about 17 minutes left. And what I like to do sometimes is just to check in with everyone briefly. I'm going to ask you a question, and you have 1 minute to answer because we have to go through everyone. So, Bluebird, how are you feeling right now? Oh wait, you gotta. Oh, you have to unmute yourself. So the question is, how are you feeling, Bluebird?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, I feel good.
All right. How about you, Harvey?
I'm feeling so grateful. I knew that Bluebird was a poet. I knew I was a poet and songwriter, but I never expected this plethora of artistic brilliance today. And it was really wonderful to hear all these wonderful poems.
Thank you. How are you feeling, Daniel?
Absolutely so relaxed from hearing everyone's talent and the breathing that I was doing. And in general, I'm just so enthused by a number of things I'm doing in my life that I think I'm at my happiest and best right now.
Lovely. Stan, how are you doing? How's it going? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling grateful. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling confused, and feeling present. Thank you.
Being human is complex.
Yeah.
Shanti Vani, how are you feeling?
Oh, just very connected, very glad to hear from so many of you, and also enthused about the horizon here, what we've got going on together.
How about you, Bonnie? How are you feeling? Gotta unmute.
When we began, I felt terrible. I was gonna go lay down, and now I feel energized and calm and so grateful to have experienced this group. It is different from other poetry groups.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm glad you had a good experience. Angela, how are you feeling?
I'm really having a great couple of days here. Yesterday, I went over to the house that I grew up in as a child, and there's a fig tree there. And myself, my brother, and my sister got together, and I never saw so many figs on that tree. We went fig picking.
Angela, how big does a fig have to be when you know it's ready to eat off the tree?
It just has to turn brown.
Oh, it has to turn brown. It can't be green, right?
Right. Green is
All right.
raw.
Good to know. Good to know, because there's a number of fig trees in this neighborhood too. Finally, we have Sandy Ellen Brower. Sandy, unmute yourself and tell us how you're feeling. Oh, there you are, Sandy. All right, good, good, good.
Sorry about that. I had to put my PIN number in my phone so I could be feeling better. My hand is feeling not good as usual, and I got a headache from my sinuses, my allergies.
And what about your feelings? How are you feeling? Like happy, sad, angry, anything?
Depressed because of my hand and all that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, but this group makes me feel better.
Oh, good. All right. I'm gonna put the spotlight back on Bluebird. Oh, there you are, Bluebird.
Maybe
Sorry.
she went to get Maymay so we could see Maymay.
Well, I could. I went over to, I don't know. Okay, wait a minute. Wanna come with me, Maymay? Here. There's Maymay.
Oh,
Now,
Hi.
what breed is Maymay?
Oh, you gonna give me a kiss, Maymay? You have a kiss for me? She's a Chiweenie. She's part Chihuahua and part Dachshund. That's
Oh, that's a cool mix. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I've been doing is she's very photogenic, and I've been taking a lot of pictures, and then I add, oh, look at that. And so I have little quotes, and one of my goals is to develop a little booklet of Maymay's words. I have another book, though, that I wrote about my first dog, who was a dachshund, who was Toodles. And so I have Toodles' Tales to finish up, probably my next project, and get those published. So that's kind of what I'll be doing. Bonnie had just wrote and said, did I have the words to the songs? I do. I have to go get them, though. Do we want to end with that?
No, she said she had a recording, I think.
I do have the recording. If you want to let me share screen, we can sing it together.
okay.
Well,
We have 10 minutes. Can that be done in the next 10 minutes?
Can you put the words on the screen?
Yeah, it's 3 minutes video.
Oh, good. Then we can talk about it afterwards. Go ahead.
All right. So can I share screen?
Yes, you can.
Let's see. Let me try. Share screen. All right, let's do this. This is an updated version, and I have to find it now. Okay. What I'd like to do is get that thing out of the way. Hold on one second. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Labels on glasses, labels
on shoes,
labels on cars, labels on food,
labels on movie stars up on a screen.
Why must we lay things down? Wait. Public and political jive. Show me your label. I'll show
you mine. Think
different inside the same. Labeling people
is a dangerous
game. That might be yellow, brown color, green, inside red. No labels to see. They can't resist the way you feel. Can't put labels on labels. No more labels.
No more
We're free.
labels.
If you want to use some labels, just go. Now your groove should be over. They're not No sixes keeping you down. Now with our peers we
We'll turn it
around.
around.
Just social worker. These are your labels. Don't be a knee-jerker. So you have your Greek, you know we don't do. So why do you label me? Should I label you? You were created to become who. No need to label who is who. We are equal. We have the same grace. Come on, enjoy the race. Bulls, no more labels. Now we know we're free. If you want
If
to
you wanna
use
use the label that
just call us
you
That's it.
Great. Ah, nice.
All right, so I'm going to stop screen share. Thank you. It's kind of crazy to, do it that way, but, those were some lyrics I came up with.
There's an
Very
old picture
creative.
of a jar that has like a jelly label on it, and it says label jars, not people. It goes back to the 90s, I think. Does anybody remember that?
Mm-mm. That's a good one.
Well, I remember the
Label.
phrase.
Oh, go ahead, Bluebird.
Oh, no, I just was saying I do remember the phrase. I'm not sure how we used it. Maybe it was like one that Mind Freedom came up with, do you think?
Yes.
Why be
yes.
normal? What was the other thing? Why why be normal? I forget what that was.
I'm not a case and I don't need to be managed.
I'm not a case, I don't need to be managed.
And we had the whole heal normality naturally.
Heal normality, yes, that's right. Yeah, that's good.
And look what
Bonnie, you should remember some of that. But one of the things Bonnie did for years, are you still doing it, which is editing that?
No, he doesn't have, he doesn't put out the same thing anymore. I don't do a poetic justice column. I did for 10 years, but that was a good while back. I think I stopped in 2003.
But do they still do a newsletter too?
No, I don't. I have not gotten a Mind Freedom newsletter.
Yeah. Okay.
When did David stop?
I don't know if we have a couple of minutes. I do have a couple thoughts coming to me, and that is that having been part of the movement from what we call our early days, from the 70s, and seeing what our politics were at that time, which was very militant, very non-accepting of the system in any kind of way, and smash the therapeutic state kind of thing. And I always looked forward to how our movement was going to change. And I've watched it. I've watched, our definition of recovery. I've watched our, concentration on wellness, and a lot of basic kinds of definitions over the years, and finally implementing all of those into creating a career for people to work in. And I think that that's still evolutionary. I think that when we started, it was kind of rocky a little bit, and now our training has gotten more specific and more professional. So I always thought it would be a profession. For the arts, Rita Cronice from the Academy of Peer Services and I are in the process, and Mark, who just left, but creating a website, and it's called Bringing Back Altered States of the It's Altered States of the Arts.art. And there's quite a few things on it now, but we're looking for people to take different pieces. Like we're going to have all of the peer-run art centers listed throughout the country. and a listing of the memoirs that have been written. They're on Amazon, but we don't know, we don't have a connecting point in the arts. We have the Empowerment Center, we have Clearinghouse. And so this is meant to be kind of a clearinghouse for the arts. And, we've sat on it for a while, and now all of a sudden it's like, I just feel like it's time that if I have anything yet to do, which I have a lot, but this is one of them. And so if anybody's listening and has an interest, I can see that it's going to have a lot of spokes to it. I can see that an organization is going to form out of it. I can see us getting money to do arts projects. Anyway, you're listening, Bonnie, right? Because Bonnie used to do a lot of the technical work, as I recall, and legal kind of things. But, just thinking back, Bonnie, didn't we just have we had Howie, we had Diane Cote, Sally Clay, who wrote a book, and Howie the Harp. And those were the key players of Altered States of the Arts. And then we put out magazines. Really, they wound up to be magazines called The Altered State. We're still looking for
David Kim, Transcendent Visions.
Huh? What?
David Kim in Philadelphia.
Yes, and David Kim he did his own little newsletter called Transcendent Visions, I think is what it was called. And I've talked recently to now I can't say her name, Beth Greenspan. And I wish she was on, but Beth was one of probably the earliest poets that wrote that
and was published. I mean, she has a lot of books now.
Yeah. So I guess, Dan asked me how I'm feeling, and I have to say, I'm excited. I'm really, I'm a little bit scared of all this. When I'm traveling, I'm going to Tennessee, and then I'm going up to New York, and I'm thinking, oh, how am I going to do all this? But I'm excited about it. So as long as I stay excited, it'll be fine. Naps and everything. Confusion. I'll have my money for the tickets. And there's always somebody to help me. That's one thing I've discovered. I'll be in the store and somebody will say, "May I help you?" And I'm just being myself.